welcome to Kino Therapy, where we talk about movies and stuff.
Yeah!
Hell yeah! It's been about 3 weeks. How you guys 3 weeks been? Has it been extraordinary in any possible way?
You having a good brat summer?
Yeah, we've we really have been having a hard time keeping to our bi-weekly schedule.
I know.
But we're back, baby!
Yeah.
We're back, baby. We are unburdened by what has been and what will be.
Speaking of what has been, there's been a lot of news lately this past week. Am I right, fellas? Lots of stuff happening in the world.
You're definitely right. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, but there's one story that stands out from all the others. One that I feel is the most important to cover tonight. It just blows every other story out of the water. This is this may be the most important news to come out in recent years, and it may just be one of the most influential and important things to happen in this country at this time. So, Alec Baldwin trial got dismissed.
Yes,
you're right. This is the most important thing of the century.
Yeah, well, I mean, I felt I had it was my sacred duty to at least mention this story, since 2 episodes ago I started a whole segment talking about Alec Baldwin and the trial.
True.
And
so we
now
have to
we have to have an update.
Yeah, so update. The judge dismissed the entire trial because the prosecution was withholding evidence from the defense team. So, and
what?
It was
Come on.
So yeah, and it was dismissed without prejudice. So that means no retrial. This is it. Baldwin gets away. He gets
free man.
Free man. Yep. He gets to go back out in the world and do it all over again. I mean, I don't think he will, but I don't think that movie Rust is going to be coming out anytime soon.
Oh no, it's probably never going to be released.
No.
No.
And it's like, come on, guys, give the evidence. If they were able to give the evidence to Vinny and my cousin Vinny, just because he asked, you could do that too. You could just give the other lawyers the evidence.
I just read up on it. It was really dumb evidence too. It was like basically the evidence they were withholding was like the supplier of the rounds, like who supplied the rounds to the production, which like
I guess it might be a little important, but
yeah, but like I don't see how that helps the defense having that knowledge, and I don't see how that's a game changer for the trial. It's like, why would you need to withhold that? I mean, I guess maybe they thought it was like such a minuscule piece of evidence, they didn't think it was that important. And it sounds like the defense they really rallied hard to get that evidence, or at least have the case dismissed because they weren't sharing that evidence.
Yeah.
Which it's just like, just give them the evidence.
Right.
Because they're trying to get the trial dismissed. It's not like they need to know who supplied the ammunition.
And then isn't this like the third attempt to get him too?
Yeah, apparently this trial's been kind of a mess from the beginning.
Yeah, that should have been their first indicator.
Yeah. I think also because they already sentenced the or they got the guilty verdict on the gunsmith, or not the gun, the armorer.
Yeah, the armorer. Yeah.
Yeah, they already tried and convicted her. I think the judge probably feels.
Oh, because she's a woman, huh? No, just kidding.
We're not doing this. No.
The judge was also.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. Of course. I just thought it was a good joke.
You were saying?
Yeah, I think because they already pinned it on the armor. I have a feeling like the court system is thinking like, oh, well, we already have somebody to pin this on. No need to convict somebody
drag this
else.
on, yeah.
Yeah. I think in the episode when I first mentioned this trial, I think I said I predicted that nothing was going to happen, or it was going to be like either like an acquittal or just.
Yeah.
I mean, you ended up being somewhat right.
Well, this son of a bitch barely went to trial. It practically didn't go to trial.
Yeah, wasn't it over?
It wasn't
like,
really even. It wasn't even really even a trial.
Yeah, it was done in like a day. Yeah. So
I have a conspiracy that they kept trying him because I believe they were found to be politically motivated, and they went on news stations about this and had a, as you would guess, didn't believe his political beliefs, and I think it was a little bit politically motivated. But somebody did die, and they did catch the armorer, so justice was served. And I believe her husband, the widow, he was made. I mean, it's never going to be released now, but they settled on an undisclosed amount of money. Alec Baldwin and her family, and they made the husband a producer on the movie, even though it's probably never going to be released. Like I thought he was all set. Like I thought he was good with her family, but
maybe, or I mean, it could be like hush money too, like just to prevent like a lawsuit. Like
that could be it.
Like we'll give you this amount of money, but in exchange you cannot sue us.
Yeah, well, he fired it not knowing that there was ammunition in there.
Oh yeah, I don't blame him for like the accident, but he is liable because he hired the armorer. She was like a family friend.
Oh
jeez,
so, yeah. Also, she wasn't that experienced then.
Right, exactly. She was only like 23, if I remember correctly. She was only like 23 when.
Yeah, she was young.
Yeah, so and she was like a family friend of the Baldwins. So I always thought manslaughter was a bit of a reach for Baldwin's trial. So
yeah. What do they call like death when you don't mean to cause death? What is that called again?
Manslaughter.
Oh, okay.
which Sorry. It's such a dark term for
no, it is.
Right, I thought it'd be like
for something that's like oops.
Yeah,
that's like
manslaughter. Like manslaughter, I always think of like somebody getting hit by a car.
I guess they'll call it manslaughter.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of a like a dark term for something that's like, whoops, I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
which is bad. It's too bad that happened.
Yeah,
I think I mentioned this in another pod, but I just remember this old comedy bit. I forget who the comedian is, but it's like the way we call like different terms for different crimes, and it's like
I think this is a Brian Regan bit.
Yeah, the Brian Regan bit where he was like, "Oh, what are you in for?"
Manslaughter. I slaughtered a man, just like a pig.
And I think with this trial that he can't be retried.
No,
he can't. So it's over now.
Yeah, he said that.
I mean, he might still be open to be sued in a civil court, but that remains to be seen.
Whenever that happens, I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think Alec Baldwin's a bad person because of this.
No, he's not.
But he has to have some accountability for this because it was his mistake hiring this young lady who was inexperienced.
Well, maybe he can do like, I don't know, like he could start a foundation for like safety advocacy on movie sets or something to honor the person that died. I know it won't bring her back, but
he just starts a charity promoting or teaching people about gun safety.
Oh gosh, it's funny because Alex and I are watching his show 30 Rock this summer.
Yes, that's right.
What a perfect time.
I chose I swear, I chose the show before I knew it was going to trial again, and it was weird. But now it's not weird anymore.
Yeah. Also, definitely, Alec Baldwin case being dismissed. Definitely, the only important thing that happened this week. There's definitely nothing, no other news worthy to talk about.
Yes, and it's related to movies, which we are a movie podcast.
Yeah. So definitely the biggest thing to happen this past couple of weeks. Nothing else. Nothing else worth to mention.
You're saying
no, nothing at all.
You're saying that like there is something.
Anyway,
yeah, but no, that is weird since we're watching that show at the exact same time that happened.
Right. I mean, I chose the show not knowing that it was.
Did you guys will it to be?
I guess we did.
Into existence.
I guess
by
we
watching
did,
it.
and I guess we did, Alex, and we willed him to be innocent.
There we go.
That and 30 Rock is also a victim of deleted media. Screw the NBC. No, I'm joking. It's for a good reason, though.
Yeah, it's for
Oh yeah, isn't there that infamous episode with one of the white chicks does blackface?
Yeah, she pretends to be Tracy Morgan. And then there's another one where she tries to be. They do this bit called Black Swans, and she tried to be this football player, Lynn Swan.
Because the movie was out at the time, Black Swan.
Yeah, but I tracked down those episodes, and it was like, couldn't they just have taken the scenes off of Peacock? Like,
they were canceled.
Screw you, Tina Fey. God damn it.
Yeah, Tina Fey, screw you for doing the right thing. Actually, you did the wrong thing, but then you did the right thing getting rid of it. I don't know what she was thinking doing that originally to begin with, but
because
well.
You know how Disney Plus will just go, like, put a content warning? Like, they could do that.
They could have just did that. Just did a content warning for this.
Yeah, that's what Warner Brothers does with old Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Didn't they do that with Gone with the Wind also?
They did it with Gone with the Wind, and they had their African American their only African American like moderator. She like filmed this like 3 or 4 minute bit about like how we need to understand the context of when the movie was filmed at the time. Except I have issue with that because
it makes it longer.
It makes it longer, and it's from the movies from the point of view of the Confederacy, so it's their point of view. But I understand that it does offend people, but it's a movie, and like Matt said, it made it even 4 minutes longer. It's already 4 hours.
Yeah, and also it's not like in the movie things turn out that swell for the Confederacy.
And they don't really even show slavery that much. They just show the house slaves. And then when the war ends, they're still there. But yeah, it's pretty brutal how they show the Confederacy. But anyway, yeah, I remember they did that disclaimer too for the Muppets on Disney Plus. Like, oh no, the Muppet Show that was on in the 70s. I think probably for smoking, maybe.
If any movie should have a content warning, it should be Breakfast at Tiffany's with Mickey Rooney and being an Asian guy.
Oh yeah.
Oof. Yeah, that yeah, that was
I think that might have been too much even for the 60s.
Yeah. I think so.
It'd be like calling Hannibal Lecter a great man.
Well,
I don't know who you're alluding to.
It'd be like if you casted Anthony Hopkins to play a Cherokee Indian.
Yeah.
That's what I was alluding to, yeah.
Or casting Emma Stone as a Hawaiian. Oh, wait, they did that in Aloha.
Oh my god, that movie had has a bunch of my favorite actors in it, and the movie's shit. This isn't really a topic. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. Are you, Alex? You go. What was your topic today? You can go before me.
So we watched a My Little Pony movie about a week ago.
Hold on, you're not bringing in the proper context for this joke. You're not bringing in the. Okay, so we watched.
Okay, help me out
Longlegs.
here.
We watched Longlegs.
We watched Longlegs.
Except
the new Nicolas
Ben
Cage
hasn't.
movie.
The new Nicolas Cage film. Ben hasn't seen it. So what we're going to do for you, our general audience, is we're going to describe it in cutesy terms to not spoil the movie for Ben in case he wants to see it.
Or any of you who have not seen it.
And for any of you who haven't seen it. So
and we're going to try to use it, or we were going to try to explain it using My Little Pony references.
Exactly.
I was going to say what this... There was this lady that came up to us after the movie, and she said it was like one of the most fucked up things she's ever seen. We're going to try to not describe it that way, but it might be hard.
I feel like there's one person for like every movie these days that says something like that, though.
I wonder if someone like came out of, I don't know, the Rugrats movie being like, that was the most fucked up movie I've ever seen.
If it's Rugrats meets the Wild Thornberrys, then yeah, I mean.
But this is no ordinary Nicolas Cage movie.
Yes.
And we're going to tell you why.
You mean Pinkie Pie movie?
A Pinkie Pie movie, yes, thank you. This is different than the last two Pinkie Pie movies we have seen together as a group. The other two being Renfield and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, it's become a tradition, the summer Nicolas Cage movies. Or just Nicolas Cage movies in general.
Yes.
Because I know Renfield was, March last year?
Yeah, it was like April.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, so let's get into it. All right, so the movie follows FBI investigator Twilight Sparkle, and she's brought in on this old case where there are more murders. I mean, cakes being stolen.
And they bring in Care Bears.
Oh yeah. So the murders are being committed by someone who leaves behind a note, but they aren't being committed. I mean, the cakes that are eaten are being eaten by dads, obviously, but they're connected to this one guy called Longlegs, or Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie. Yeah, Pinkie Pie makes Care Bears. That's not really connected to My Little Pony at all.
No, but it's just the
first
what I'm
saying.
Just go with it.
I'm just gonna go with it. And also Pinkie Pie is a Satanist. I mean, Pinkie Pie is a follower of Princess Luna. We'll go with that.
Okay.
And Twilight Sparkle has special powers. She possibly can.
Special powers?
Yes. Special powers of perception, which will make her perfect for solving the murders. I mean, the cake theft.
But by not showing her face throughout half of the movie.
But soon we learn that maybe there is a deeper connection between Twilight Sparkle and Pinkie Pie after all.
Ooh.
Yes, I think we can leave the suspense at that. All right. I'm done with the bit. I'm done with the My Little Pony things.
So yeah, that's basically the movie. It's fucked up.
Without describing a lot of the more suspenseful and horrific, or even the twists and turns that happen in the movie, though. So there we go. That's a brief summary of Longlegs using My Little Pony characters.
If you didn't understand any of that, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry if
we just didn't want to spoil the movie for Ben here.
Yeah,
I didn't understand it, but I still had a good time.
Yeah, me too. It's like Silence of the Lambs. A little bit.
Yeah, it is.
I'd compare it to
Yes, there's a better
Cure.
comparison.
There's a Japanese film called Cure by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. It's almost exactly like this movie.
I wonder if there'll be a plagiarism thing against it.
I don't think so.
No, because that does happen.
I don't think so. It's it seems like maybe it's inspired by it. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
The movie was good. I mean, think of it like just like those murder movies that you watch like every once in a while.
I haven't seen it yet, but was it like Zodiac? Or Seven? I've seen Seven.
They're kind of.
It was more like Mind Hunter.
Mind Hunter.
I will sign a petition for Mind Hunter season 3.
Yes.
Please let this happen, please.
Some of my other friends have been wanting that too. Like, they're like, actually, we're talking about the other day. They're like, we want another Mind Hunter. I'm like, I know, it was so good, and they stopped it.
Why do they have to
freaking Netflix?
Because we don't have the money for another season of Mindhunter, but we can do 20 different edits of a shitty Zack Snyder sci-fi movie.
God damn it.
Also, speaking of somebody that's upset about another series that was let go, The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. Oh, I was so mad they canceled that. Because it was so good. It was so old school, back to not using a lot of CGI, and that world is so interesting. And I know a lot of people don't even know what the Dark Crystal is, but the original one meant I watched it so much as a kid, and then when the show came, I'm like, yes, and then they canceled it.
Well, yeah, I mean, either
on a cliffhanger too.
Yeah, well, it'll either get like another season like 5 years from now, or it'll just never get us into second season at all.
Right. Maybe they'll just make a comic book or something of the finishing it.
But I mean, Netflix does that all the time. They never commit to any show unless it's like.
No, they don't.
Even Squid Game, they never did like a second season of Squid Game.
I think there is a season. They announced they're going to do one. Yeah, they announced there's going to be a season.
But of course, we have to wait like 3 years between seasons. And then
like
and then
Stranger Things.
People will just gradually lose interest.
Things, Zach. That's funny.
It's really stupid. It's like have longer seasons, have a big writer's room, and just make a good show. And just do that instead of just giving us like shitty animated comedies or whatever the fuck. Just give us a good fucking show.
I wish more shows would like have their first season be like kind of a one-off concept in case the show doesn't get like renewed. And just leave like a little bit open for like possibilities of other seasons can jump off of, but just have like a one self-contained season for the first season, just in case you don't get your renewal, but it still feels like complete.
You know what else Netflix does? They split seasons into 2 parts now. The sequel to that 70s show, that 90s show, second season is being split up into 2 parts, and it's so annoying.
Yeah, some things completely unnecessary. If there was like there was a strike, so could that be it?
Yeah,
no, I think that was the plan even before that, but I still think it's dumb.
I mean, I'm surprised that Arcane got a second season. I'm glad for it, but I'm surprised knowing Netflix's track record with shows.
Yeah, I haven't really watched any Netflix original shows because, like, you can't count on them lasting very long.
No,
that's where I'm at this point.
And that's what I mean. Like, I wish more of these showrunners would make like short, self-contained shows within one season. That way, we get some payoff in case there's no renewal.
How about we get a show about people that just hang out and just do a bunch of adventure shit?
But at least Netflix, they used to like release their seasons all at once.
Well, yeah, but I've heard a lot of people like the 3-episode dump because it's like return to how shows used to be, where you had to wait every week for a new episode.
And
an example of what I mean.
Then why don't we just watch regular TV then?
Exactly.
Because there's no commercials.
There is commercials now. If you have the ad one.
But one other thing I was going to say was an
But yes,
example.
there are no commercials. Yes, but
let Alec speak.
Sorry.
The other show I was thinking of, where they had a season that they split into 2 parts, actually, was when Arrested Development aired their seasons on Netflix. They'd air like the first half of the season and then the second half later on.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how they've been doing it, right?
When Arrested Development was on Netflix, their seasons had 16 episodes, so they do 8 episodes and then the other 8.
They did that back with the last season of Breaking Bad. I know it was split into 2 parts.
Oh, I forgot it was.
But that wasn't a Netflix show, but I get what you mean. But guess what's trending on Netflix? This isn't going to be a political thing, by the way. Fucking Hillbilly Elegy is trending on Netflix.
You just said it wasn't going to be a political thing.
No,
the movie's not political. It's just shit.
It's too bad because there were some good actors and a good director in it, but oh well, that's happened before.
Every time I think of that movie, my opinion of it gets worse and worse.
Right.
Ron Howard will
Letterboxd review the other day.
Yeah, I wrote Ron Howard will not see Allah.
You watched that in 2020, and I think that was your least favorite movie that year. Am I right?
Yes.
One movie that is good is Maxine, and I saw that movie. Really good. Shout out to my other movie friends, Lexi, Jody, and Amanda, that we saw it as a group. And we loved it. Yep. We talked.
Maxine was good. I do recommend that as well.
Yeah, we saw it as a group. We got together in person for the first time and saw it. As we saw the other two, we saw it not in the same room, but we saw them when they were coming out and then talked about them online. And I thought it was really well done. It had the good 80s aesthetic, but it wasn't too in your face. The third act of the movie, I thought, was better than people said it was. I liked how the movie ended. Not to say
I did too, actually. I don't want to give it away though for Matt and Ben, but it was a good movie.
It was a good movie. It was good seeing with a group of friends that we all like horror movies together. And
can you describe Maxine in terms of Transformers?
I was going to say Rugrats.
You know what I thought was
funny? Can you describe it with SpongeBob?
Yeah, too bad.
Okay, so you have
no. Don't actually do that. No, the bit is dead. Don't do that.
God damn it! Never mind.
I would say Maxine was going to be SpongeBob, but so Maxine's after we've all seen X, correct?
Yeah, and Pearl.
I mean, I haven't, but I don't care.
You haven't seen X either?
I'm not into horror movies like you guys are.
Mm-hmm.
No,
that's fine. I wasn't either. I wasn't either for a while.
I mean, I'm willing to give them a shot. I think both Pearl and X are still on Netflix, I think.
As of now, I think you might be right. I'm not sure.
But I'll probably just wait till like October, because I don't know. If I'm gonna watch some horror movies, like I'd rather just watch them during October when it feels the most applicable. Like it's summertime. I want to watch some big budget action movies.
Hell yeah!
Well, that's what the summer blockbuster is all about.
I haven't had that many this summer. And Apes came out in the spring, so
I really liked Planet of the Apes. That was good. That was better than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, really? Because, like, by and large, all the modern Apes movies have been pretty good.
So far, 2024 has been about Sand and Apes.
Yeah, that's true.
Powerful women characters.
Well, that's every year. Mm-hmm.
You got me there. That
That's
yes.
Like now that Matt said
reflect.
that observation, I'm thinking about like, damn, he's right. Like, because we had the Kong and Godzilla movie with all the Kongs.
Yeah.
We had Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And then as far as sand goes, we had Dune and Furiosa. Damn, that's a.
It's apes and sand.
Apes and sand.
Yeah, so I think.
Can we call this episode Apes and Sand?
And then put in like either the King Kong theme or the Dune theme.
Yeah, you should put in the Doom theme in the background for like the entire.
Yeah.
Wait, Zach, was your topic Maxine? I was just wondering.
What?
What was your
was
topic
your topic
today?
Maxine?
My topic was Maxine. Yeah, sorry, we got off on that. So if I had to rank the X trilogy, I would say they're all great, and it's hard to rate them. But if I had to rate them, if my life depended on it, I would say the bottom would be Pearl, X would be second, and Maxine would be first.
My thing with Pearl. No, go ahead, Zach. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was going to say Maxine did a really good job of wrapping up the trilogy in a nice
bow.
Like nice bow on the gift, icing on the cake. I thought it was really well done, and I hope that Ty West continues to make great movies like that trilogy.
So, for me, I'd do it X, Maxine, and Pearl. For me, there's a monologue in Pearl that I thought went on for way too long. It was like almost 10 minutes long, and I was like, shut up.
I thought Pearl was the best.
Really?
I thought that I was contemplating which one I liked second, Pearl or X. I mean, it's really close. At the time I liked Pearl better than X, but then I rewatched X, so maybe I need to rewatch Pearl again.
Yeah,
because I did like Pearl better than X when I saw them when they came out.
I love how Pearl is just about like a person who's like, I want to do this, and for most of the movie, she's like, I gotta do this. This is my one goal, my one dream. And then when she gets her first no, she's like, okay, I guess I should just start murdering people.
So she doesn't play the same character she plays in X, right? That's what confused me.
In Pearl?
Yeah, I know.
She plays the old lady. That's the old lady when she was younger, Pearl. And Pearl is the old lady in X, who
murders all the porn stars.
Yeah, she's the villain.
Okay, that makes more sense now. I was like so confused.
And they're just all played by the same actress.
So, and then is Maxine an actual sequel to X, or is it like in between Pearl and X?
Yes.
It's an actual sequel to X. I was like confused by that myself. But now that's been cleared up for me.
Well, they did do that, although most people don't know that. They did do that with the Indiana Jones original trilogy, where the second one was actually a prequel to the first one.
Yeah, but I mean...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it taking place before Raiders didn't really matter anyway. Although it does make you wonder, like, what happened to all these bitches he keeps hooking up with? I mean, what, like... No, like, Temple of Doom was like a year before...
Right.
Raiders, so he must.
And not to mention, like in Raiders, they had a relationship even before, like 10 years before that.
Right. I mean, I don't blame him for dumping the blonde chick. She was like the worst character in any of the Indiana Jones movies.
Although that woman did end up marrying Steven Spielberg, and they're still married.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Mrs. Spielberg.
Yep, and then the Last Crusade takes place after Raiders, and Indy has.
Well, we know what happens to that bitch.
Well, he didn't really have any bitches in that movie. He starts off with like a bitch who becomes a double agent, but it's like, what, you and Marion already broke up with like after a year, and now
They're on again, off again. It's like Saved by the Bell, but for action, adventure, Nazi punching historians.
Archaeologists.
Yes.
Last thing I want to say about Maxine was you do see some iconic movie locations in the movie, which I thought was cool. I'm not going to spoil which movie locations, but let's just say they're Universal Pictures movies that you see as the movie progresses.
Very nice.
Great trilogy. Mia Goth is a star in the making. Ty West, I hope he directs more movies. And yeah, it's one of my favorite movies to come out of this summer.
He did do a movie, I think back in like 2010 or something. A lot of people don't know that.
Was it House of the Devil?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
No, I don't think a lot of people know that exists, so I haven't seen it, but I
have not seen it either.
I'm just thinking about Greta Gerwig playing her typical upbeat, quirky character in like a horror movie.
Actually, I think she is that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious! I gotta watch this movie now. Like what? Like her character in what? Like Frances Ha?
She's a side character. She's the friend to the lead character.
So should we move on to the final
Ed Wood?
The conclusion?
Yeah.
The third installment of the Ed Wood trilogy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
The return of the Wood.
You guys ready?
Yeah. The Return of the Wood, like the return of the King, the Return of the Wood.
Well, I was thinking Return of the Jedi, but okay.
That could be a good episode title too.
Return
Alex, it's up to you. It's up to you, Alex.
Either Apes and Sand or the Return of the Wood.
Maybe I'll do both. Who knows?
Ed Wood 3, Return of the Wood.
Oh yeah, no, Ed Wood 3, Apes and Sand.
What happened to Ed Wood 2?
It's like Troll 2.
No, it's like how there's Mad Max and then there's the Road Warrior, but it's still a Mad Max sequel. But it's like but it's a different type, or like
well, in Australia it's just called Mad Max 2, but in other places
better example, like there's Dirty Harry,
right,
and then there's Deep Impact, and then the Enforcer, but they're all about Dirty
Harry. I think a better thing would be there's First Blood, then Rambo First Blood Part 2, and then First Blood Part 3, then Rambo 3. It's like the last one was technically Rambo 1. Where's Rambo 2? Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That was an old angry video game nerd bit.
Wait, so First Blood actually not
First Blood is the first film with John Rambo.
Right, but in the series it is after First Blood 2 and Rambo 3?
Well, the sequel is Rambo First Blood Part 2.
And that's direct sequel. Okay.
And then the next one is just called Rambo 3.
But that takes place before First Blood.
Does it?
I don't know.
All right,
I think they're just sequels and they just follow each other. The only thing that's really confusing is the name.
Okay.
And you know what comes after that?
Rambo?
Just Rambo.
Yeah.
Well, we just had a Rambo. It was Rambo First Blood Part 2. And now it's just Rambo?
Well, the first Rambo movie was just called First Blood.
Exactly. So are we First Blooding or are we Ramboing? It doesn't help that the last one's called Rambo Last Blood. So I guess it's the Last Blood? Why is it Last Blood?
I feel like
last one's First Blood.
It's called Last Blood, but it's a prequel to all of them. What the hell?
Yeah, imagine it's just the prequel.
I feel like we got off track here.
Yes, we did. I'll get us back, okay?
Yeah, so Ed Wood 3, Return of the Wood.
Welcome back to the final installment of So You Think You Know Them, my first attempt to cover the life of a person whose life was covered in a biopic. Today we'll conclude our overlong and incredibly ongoing topic of the director Edward D. Wood Jr., a man widely considered to be one of the worst directors of all time, and yes, that is until Tommy Wiseau made The Room. Alex.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
He said it on another one, or he almost did once.
Wait, would you argue then that Neil Breen is a better director than Tommy Wiseau?
Oh, God, now that's going to fuck with my head.
That's a good question. Neil Breen has a vision, and I think Tommy Wiseau intended The Room to be a drama until it became an unintentional comedy. And now he says it's a dark comedy. That's not vision.
Right.
To me, The Room just seemed like Tommy Wiseau just watched a bunch of soap operas and thought, "Oh, I could make movie out of that."
Yeah. Now, where we left off on Ed Wood's life, we were about to talk about the one of the films he's most famous for. You know it, you love it, or love to hate it. It's Grave Robbers from Outer Space. Ed Wood is a man who had always seemed to be never be in short supply for ideas, but was never able to rub two pennies together. I mentioned before some of the projects that Ed Wood had written with his star Bela Lugosi in mind, and how he even shot some film with him in it. But now his big movie star had passed on. Shortly after Bela's death, Wood quickly wrote the story Grave Robbers from Outer Space, with the idea of using this unconnected and unrelated footage that he shot with Lugosi and incorporating it into the film to make it Lugosi's final film. The tagline, Bela Lugosi's last movie in Ed's mind, would help attract people to the project, and it did. It attracted the attention of Maila Nurmi. I think I pronounced that completely wrong. But you probably best know her under her more famous pseudonym, Vampira. Born in Gloucester, Vampira was a horror TV host with her own show on KABC TV's The Vampira Show, where she played a skinny-waisted, glamorous woman who would start each episode in a trance, only to be broken by her trademark piercing scream. She would introduce the show before playing a horror movie. She also is in the aforementioned documentary, The Haunted World of Edward D. Wood Jr., where she talks about her origins and the creation of the character Vampira. She also goes off on a tangent where she talks about where she claims to have fucked Orson Welles. So make of that what you will.
Okay.
So, The Last Lugosi was also worked on getting Gregory Walcott, who would play the lead romantic role in the film. Walcott served in the Army in WW2 and in Korea, and got some bit parts in films as Marines. For example, he played a patrolman in the Oscar-winning film Mr. Roberts. Loving tribute aside, Wood had to find a way to get around the problem. What to do about the problem of no Lugosi? He needed someone to stand in for him. And find him he did. Wood hired Tom Mason for the job. Mason had no qualifications. He was not an actor. He was actually a chiropractor for Ed Wood's wife. He also didn't really have any resemblance to Lugosi, if we were to be honest. He was taller than the late actor, but Wood insisted that if Mason covered his face with a cape, much like a Dracula would, then it would work. It doesn't. Did I not mention Ed Wood's wife? Yeah, Ed Wood was married, much to the surprise of the people who knew him. So after his breakup with Dolores Fuller, he got hitched, not just once, but twice. First, he married Norma McCarty, a recently divorced actress who also appears in Plan 9 from Outer Space as an airline stewardess. Their marriage lasted a month. It took that long for her to find out that Ed was a cross-dresser. The marriage was allegedly annulled. I say allegedly. According to the late film archivist and Ed Wood copyright holder, Wade Williams, they were never legally divorced. Afterwards, Ed moved in with his friend Paul Marco, and later that same year, 1956, Ed met Kathy O'Hara in a bar while drinking with Bela Lugosi. He fell in love immediately, and the two had left for Vegas and got married sometime later. But let's get back on track here. Ed wanted to make a very appealing film. A sci-fi horror film. Grave Robbers from Outer Space was very much a atomic age film. He received funding to make the film from a landlord of his, J. Edwards Reynolds, who would play a gravedigger in the film. The film is also notable for being funded by the Beverly Hills chapter of the Southern Baptist Convention, of which Reynolds was a leader of. In fact, several people, as part of the film's production, were even baptized while making the film. It is believed that the Baptists weren't a fan of the title, alluding to grave robbing, which is why the film's name was later changed to the much more snappy and much more well-known Plan 9 from Outer Space. Fun fact, I believe they also couldn't baptize Tor Johnson, who was also in the film. So they baptized him in a swimming pool.
Okay.
Because he was
baptized him in a swimming pool. That is very...
He's a big man.
That's very Ed Wood-ish.
Very big man. Now, what is the film about, you say? Well, extraterrestrials visit Earth with the concern that they're using nuclear weapons. To stop the humans from using the planned doomsday weapon, they put into action Plan 9, which is to create chaos on Earth by resurrecting the recently deceased. Although, in the film, they raise a total of 3 corpses. If Earth does not heed their warning, the aliens plan on controlling the dead of the Earth to march on and destroy the humans. But the plan becomes apparent to the pilot, Trent, and his co-pilot, Danny, and Trent's wife, the Burbank police, and the army. Quite a few characters there. In the end, the humans face off against the aliens and destroy them, foiling their plan. That's it. That's the plot. Now, let's get to the rest of the cast. Vampira is in it, but she insisted on playing the part silently, mostly because she hated the dialogue that Ed Wood had given her. Naturally. Paul Marco paid her $200 to act as the vampire in the film. Tor Johnson returns, like I said, in the film as Inspector Clay, a hulking police investigator.
Wait, sorry. So it's a movie about aliens creating zombies, but there's also a vampire?
Well, she's not a vampire, but she's Vampira. She's actually credited as Vampira, but she's just an undead person.
Oh.
She wiggles her fingers. So Tor Johnson returns in the film as Inspector Clay, a hulking police inspector investigating murder in the local cemetery, but eventually becomes one of the shambling undead. Which is actually fine, because for the first part of the film, Johnson is unintelligible with his deep voice and Swedish accent. We also have Bunny Breckenridge, another one of Ed Wood's entourage, who plays the alien leader in the film. Now, Bunny was a drag queen, a flamboyant homosexual, and wealthy socialite, a relative of former Vice President and Confederate cabinet member John C. Breckenridge. You may remember this character if you watched the Tim Burton film. He was played by Bill Murray. Now, Bunny's life is full of eccentricity and controversy that I won't get into on the podcast. But I will talk about one anecdote that is mentioned in the film Ed Wood. Bunny was allegedly inspired by Christine Jorgensen, who we covered on the first part during the Glenn or Glenda segment. Long story short, first publicized sex change in American history. Bunny planned to have a sex change, planning on transitioning in order to marry his male secretary. he made the arrangements to have the sex change in Mexico. But these plans were squashed.
It's a great place to have one of those, by the way.
Well, in the 50s.
Yeah.
But these plans were squashed by a car accident before even getting to the surgeon. So the pursuit for a sex change did not continue afterwards. However, Bunny decided to give permission to this story to Gore Vidal in the 60s to write a biography. He didn't write a biography on Bunny Breckenridge. Instead, he decides to take that kind of story and write the best-selling fictional novel, Meyer Breckenridge. It was also made into a movie, and I hear it was terrible.
It probably was.
It probably was.
Paul Marco returns in this film as Kelton the Cop, making this an informal sequel to Bride of the Monster. And we also have other Ed Wood players in here too. One actor that was with him from the beginning is Duke Moore, an actor who is distinguished by having his whole filmography be made entirely of Ed Wood directed or written films. Another Ed Wood friend and longtime collaborator is Conrad Brooks, who was also in the film. We also have Tom Keene in what is his last film role. He was an actor known for B westerns. If you may remember, he played the Tucson Kid in Ed Wood's failed Western pilot Crossroad Adventure. We have the awkwardly named Dudley Manlove, who plays one of the aliens named Eros.
Dudley Manlove.
He gives one of my favorite lines in the film.
You see, your stupid minds, stupid.
I love that. I love that line, how it's said. It's said exactly like that. And we also have Criswell, the fake TV psychic that I told you about in the last episode. He gives an opening and closing monologue, as well as giving us a narration to help give us backstory to fill in the holes that were left gaping in Ed Wood's non-existent plot. But the opening monologue is nonsensical and iconic. You know, greetings, my friends. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I will spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future. You know, I'd go on from that, but let's get to the point. Now, what makes this film bad? Well, it's a feature-length encapsulation of Ed Wood horror. The flying saucers in this film are obviously fake. There was a long-standing urban legend that they were hubcaps, but this is actually not true. They're just actually flying saucer models. But for the longest time, people were like, hey, these look cheap. I bet they came off a car. It doesn't take away from the cheapness of it, though. So, this film is full of stock footage, like a lot of stock footage of the military. The sets are clearly fake. The cockpit on the plane in this one scene is separated by the rest of the plane by a shower curtain.
This sounds like a fake movie, but it's real.
The sets shake. The gravestones in the graveyard are made of cardboard. The film uses the Lugosi footage. The film's use of the Lugosi footage lacks continuity. The Lugosi footage is shot in the day, but the film insists on cutting back and forth to a night scene that was shot in a studio at the ironically named Quality Studios. The dialogue is nonsensical in the typical Ed Wood fashion. Characters are flat. Torch Johnson was apparently so big he couldn't rise from his grave fast enough and apparently got stuck. There are scenes where a police officer is seen scratching his head with the end of his own gun. The shooting end! Apparently this was a joke that the actors had pulled on Ed, and it was left in the film.
It sounds like it wasn't supposed to be in the movie, right?
I mean, it was a joke that he was like, I wonder if Ed will see that I'm scratching my forehead with the gun. And he didn't. He's like, cut, Brent. Move on. And it's in the film. Now, there's no time continuity at all in the film. Mason will be covering his face with a cape the whole time, and it's so cliche. It's stuff that like Abbott and Costello were making fun of back in the 40s. Parts of the camera equipment is seen. The most common version that you'll find is the open matte version of the film, where the film was supposed to be in the 185 to 1 aspect ratio. But with this wider version available, you can see the mistakes, like the boom mic shadow appearing. You will see it. It's just there. There's too many things to mention, but all of this just adds to the goofy cheesiness. Now, this film had its premiere on March 15th, 1957, at the Carlton Theater in L.A. The distribution company had held the film for a year before they eventually went under. Now, the film would be eventually distributed under a states' rights basis, where the producer sells their film to local salesmen on a territorial basis. By this time, early investors had given up all hopes on seeing a return. The film would later come back in the late 70s and 80s as one of the first films with the moniker Worst Films of All Time, and would obviously gain notoriety with the biopic about its director that came out in 1994. I'll get back into this much later. Now, although what the film... I'll say it does a great job at the film, doing a montage of various scenes in the film. But what the biopic gets wrong with Ed Wood is that Ed Wood never actually met Orson Welles in a bar, who gives him sage advice while complaining about the studio wanting to cast, what did I say, Charlton Heston as a Mexican.
And, okay, I get it now.
And B, Ed Wood did apparently, as far as I'm aware, did not shoot Plan 9 for Outer Space and Drag. Now, you can basically find Plan 9 anywhere. There are various DVDs. There's an out-of-print Blu-ray that you could probably grab for over $100. There's a colorized version and even a Riff Tracks version. But no release of this film has been... there is no release of the film in its intended aspect ratio. Although Turner Classic Movies has shown an HD version of this aspect ratio. So thank you, Turner Classic.
It sounds like Michael Bay when he changes his aspect ratio like every 5 seconds.
Now, I'll leave off Plan 9 with Gregory Walcott, the lead actor, who would go on to star in films like Midway, The Sugarland Express, and Norma Ray. In an interview in 2000, he stated he wanted nothing to do with Plan 9, but he also said, "It's better to be remembered for something than for nothing, don't you think?"
Right.
In the meantime, as Plan 9 languished in distribution limbo for about 3 years, Ed Wood took a third and final crack at the world of television. I mentioned the melodramatic short film he made for TV and the Western pilot that didn't get off the ground. But Ed Wood had a big idea for a possible series. Let's talk about Portraits of Terror real quick. Now, Portraits of Terror would have been interesting, as it would have been Ed Wood's foray into making a horror anthology series. Now, while this idea comes after Alfred Hitchcock Presents, it does predate the famous Rod Serling anthology series, The Twilight Zone, by about a year. But Portraits in Terror would never be. It was never sold to a TV network, and all that remains is a pilot episode, a 22-minute film called Final Curtain. It is believed that Ed filmed a second episode called The Night the Banshee Cried. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a lost project, and I haven't seen anything or any picture of it, so it's whatever. Now, Final Curtain was considered to be a lost film as well. That is until a relative of Paul Marco's found it in 2012, and then it premiered at the Slam Dance Film Festival. It's got a DVD release. It's part of a Blu-ray release. You can find it on YouTube, Tubi. Final Curtain concerns the inner mind of an actor who walks about the set of a play after everyone has left the theater at night, and he lets his mind wander, seeing and thinking about the creepy things that he's believing take place, that the idea of the theater being haunted might be true. Now, the actor is played by a tuxedo-wearing Duke Moore. But the narration is given us to our friend, the unfortunately named Dudley Manlove. Now, I really like Final Curtain, and in a weird way, it might be my favorite Ed Wood project. Unironically, I think it's my favorite. While I think maybe his best theatrical work is probably like Glen or Glenda for its like handling of subject matter, autobiographical nature, its surrealism. Final Curtain seems to be like a different distillation of Ed. It's purely him as a writer. And we hear his narration. We see the camera gliding through this dark theater as it slowly sets the scene for us. I think it works in a weird, clunky way, but a way that only Ed Wood can deliver. Now, it may not be a fun watch for everyone. It's a slow setup and leads to a, frankly, a silly denouement. But really, can a guy enjoy something?
So, wait, Matt, real quick. Are there any of Ed Wood's filmography, like actual films, that you think are good or okay, unironically?
I think Final Curtain is.
Well, that's a TV
I
show.
don't think
pilot, isn't it?
it's a pilot. Yes.
I'm talking about like an actual film that he made.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I think that his best theatrical film is Glen or Glenda.
But do you actually think it's unironically decent, or you just think it's like
it's not a good movie? If I'm being honest, no.
I mean, Neil Breen's best theatrical movie is probably Fateful Findings, right? But would you say that's a good movie?
It's a fun movie.
Okay.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah, don't talk shit about fucking Fateful Findings.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
But since Final Curtain was not to be, what did Ed Wood do with Final Curtain? Ed Wood sometimes had the tendency to reuse a lot of things. Like I said with the Lugosi footage I mentioned before. He also reuses his own writing as well. Some of the quotes in the books that he would write in the 50s and 60s would lift quotes from unfinished films like Final Curtain. At this time, he also had an unfinished film called Hellborn. Shot right before Plan 9 from Outer Space, Hellborn was a juvenile delinquent film. Think of it as Ed Wood's Rebel Without a Cause. Wood shot about 1,000 feet of film and didn't finish it. He shot it in one day.
I was going to say, does it feel like when Tommy Wiseau reuses the same sex scene like 10 times? Is it like that?
Yeah, you can think about it, but think of it stretched throughout your filmography.
All right.
But when you got film, you got to use it. And use it he did. We're going to talk about Night of the Ghouls real quick. Night of the Ghouls is the last of Ed Wood's horror films. The title Night of the Ghouls is its current and most well-known title. But when it was filmed, the movie was called Revenge of the Dead, made in 1958, still some time before the wide release of Plan 9. Revenge of the Dead takes place in LA, where the focus is back on the old Willows place. That's right! It's a direct sequel to Bride of the Monster. A kissing couple are found murdered, and the police get calls about a ghost sighting, and it's up to Detective Bradford, along with Kelton the cop, to investigate the goings-on in the swamp. But since Kelton appears in both Bride of the Monster and Plan 9, this film completes a weird trilogy, the Kelton Trilogy.
The Kelton Trilogy.
Kelton the scaredy cop. The two arrive at the old Willows place, which is abandoned, but it is occupied by a phony psychic, cleverly named Dr. Acula, played by Keen Duncan in a turban. He's doing fake seances to con rich widowers out of their money, using actors who are playing ghosts, and also some who guard the premises. And he also's got muscle. Lobo comes back.
But that's important.
Played again by a mute Tor Johnson, who's apparently survived the explosion at the end of Bride of the Monster and is left with scars on his face. I believe Tor Johnson's face from either Plan 9 or this movie, Night of the Ghouls, is a famous Halloween mask. Fun fact. Now,
that is interesting.
Well, it turns out that the old Willows place is actually haunted by actual ghosts. One of them being played by Criswell, who takes out the phony psychic once and for all. Now, this is definitely a weird movie. You can tell that it's piecemeal, a random assortment of films stuffed together. There's a fight scene with several youths that's supposed to be from Hellbourne. That's just stuff into the film with less grace than you would stuff a Thanksgiving turkey. Footage from Final Curtain is here through our inspector's on-duty tuxedo, which is explained away by him being roped into the investigation right before going to an opera with his wife. We got skulls, we got flying trumpets, ghosts and sheets, we got a slide whistle sound. The film had a preview screening in 1959 at the Vista Theater in Hollywood, but Ed planned on doing some re-edits after seeing it. So apparently he was thinking on adding the Bella footage from before into the film as well. Whatever he had, he wanted to use it. He's just like, I want Bella, man. I want Bella. And it's like, get over it, man. It's like that tweet where, you know that tweet where it's Yoko Ono posts a picture of her and John Lennon, and then someone responds with, girl, move on? It's like that.
Or like in Mean Girls, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's just not going to happen.
Stop trying to make Bella happen. Bella is dead.
Bella's not going to happen. He's dead.
Well, unfortunately, he was unable to make these re-edits, as the film ownership remained to the lab, possibly due to overdue bills. Revenge of the Dead.
Well, Edward's just like a guy that just keeps hitting a brick wall, isn't he?
Yeah. So Revenge of the Dead remained unreleased and hidden in obscurity. This was until a Kansas City film hobbyist that I mentioned earlier, Wade Williams, located the film, paid off the bills to the lab, and then gave it an official VHS release under its current title, Night of the Ghouls, in the year 1984. Literally 1984!
Wow.
Holy shit.
You can find it on DVD, and you can also find it on Blu-ray from the Canadian boutique Blu-ray company, Gold Ninja Video, which is what I got and why I'm doing this whole topic on Ed Wood. A 35mm copy of Night of the Ghouls with its original title, Revenge of the Dead, was apparently found by them. The Blu-ray's got 2 different formats, commentary, stuff with Paul Marco, video discussing unofficial Ed Wood films, the producer's cut of Jailbait, you know, the one with the blackface routine, and a Super 8 version of...
I was going to say, Jailbait means something completely different now.
Yes. A Super 8 version of Plan 9, a short film with Keen Duncan doing some trick shots with a gun, and a 2K scan of Final Curtain. You can buy the Blu-ray from their website. It's in limited copy, so buy now. It's a great looking box set for anyone who's looking for some wood. Ed Wood, that is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The porn. We're getting that. Let me quickly.
Okay.
To the next part.
Now Alex is paying attention. I'm just kidding.
We're on the back half of Ed Wood's film career. He's mostly behind the typewriter, penning to get credits in some films. Plot-wise, he would write books. He would write a lot of books as well under assumed names like Akvod Temling. It's vodka gimlet spelled backwards, his favorite drink. He wrote the script for a movie called Bride of the Beast, for example. A film where a big game hunter gets cuckolded by a gorilla. But let me talk about his last film, his official non-nudie film. The Sinister Urge came out in 1960.
The Sinister Urge,
yes.
That's not a porno?
No, but it's about porno. So it's about a racket that peddles pornography that gets wrapped up in a series of murders. Now, I don't particularly care about this one.
Why?
I just don't like it. It's boring. It's boring. It's dull. It's about how there could be a connection between violence against women and pornography, trying to make a social commentary. But look,
that is not good.
But let me just say this: not even Joel, Tom Servo, and Crow could save me on this one. So that's how bad it was. But one thing about the film is how it speaks to Ed Wood and what he has done and what he will become.
Oh, it's almost like a prophecy.
Now, you can see this in the self-insert character of Johnny Ride. He's the director who makes the smut.
Right.
Yeah, he's the director that makes the smut. In one scene, Johnny says, I look at this slush. I try to remember at one time I made good movies. Now, let's be honest, Ed Wood didn't make good movies. But he did set out to make something out of everything he had, and with anyone who was willing to go with him. And to him, that was good.
He had a dream, goddammit, and a vision.
All right, it's the moment you've been waiting for, the porn. The porn! We'll start with Orgy of the Dead, a real classic skin flick. The film was directed by an A.C. Stevens, which was a pseudonym for Stephen C. Apostoloff. This would be their first collaboration between Steven and Ed that would last for over a decade. Orgy of the Dead seems so cheesy that people have
is this a real movie? This is real?
This is real. Porno. Orgy of the Dead seems so cheesy that some people think that Ed Wood had directed it himself. So,
the directors later in their life, like getting more perverted as they get older. The same thing happened with Alfred Hitchcock, Matt. We've talked about that before.
Now, there's a couple, and they come across a creepy graveyard where the Lord of the Dead, played by Criswell, presides over a cadre of ghoulish, topless dancers. There's not much of a plot after that.
Yeah, they're pornos.
Yeah, of course. We also have films that even Ed Wood stars in. We have The Photographer.
Oh, hell yeah!
We have The Photographer, which also goes by the titles Love Feast or Pretty Maids All in a Row.
Hold on, Matt. Are there any porno movies where Ed Wood's rocking that thick tree trunk of his?
Well, let's see. So in The Photographer, Ed uses his photography skills to get sex with models. And he also plays a panty-wearing transvestite in the film Mrs. Stone's Thing. Now, I'll talk about Take It Out and Trade. Now, it's the only one of the pornos in which Ed Wood has supposedly directed that actually has his name on it. So the film follows an investigator that's hired by a family to find their daughter. He spends their money flying all over the world, banging some hot chicks. He finds her, and it turns out that she's taking up residence in a house of ill repute. Ed Wood's actually in the film. He plays a blonde transvestite in the film, of course. The film concludes in an orgy, of course. Now, this film used to be lost. And all that was available for the film was silent outtakes that were found in the 90s and was released on VHS. This wasn't until 2014, where the whole thing was found in its 1970s porno glory. You can actually find it on Blu-ray, surprisingly, from the American Genre Film Archive. But if you want to check out Take It Out and Trade, you got to make it fast, because they currently have a second run of the Blu-ray. The first version went out of print, so make it fast. Now, I can run down some other stuff that Wood has done. He did a series of 8mm loops. Those are basically like porn shorts, like peep shows, if you will. Some of these starred 70s porn star John Holmes. He was famous for having a large cock. And he was...
Well, I mean, if you're in the porn industry, there's not a whole lot you're going to be famous for other than that.
And his possible participation in the Wonderland murders, where 4 people who were part of the Wonderland gang were beaten to death. There's also that. John Holmes is also the inspiration for Dirk Diggler.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
Yeah. But I'm getting off topic.
Okay.
Now, Wood had really devolved from making horror films and silent films to now making like porno films. Some of them had a horror film touch, like Necromania. There are so many titles that Wood either wrote, contributed to, or allegedly contributed to that we possibly can't get into all of it. But I did cover all of the feature films that he officially made as director. Go team! High five!
Go team!
Woo! We did it, boys.
But it is sad that he quite possibly never had a chance to make another non-porn film again. Or did he? Now, in 2022, some information has come to light that may place a new film at the end of Ed Wood's filmography. We will talk about Meat Cleaver Massacre as the final part of Ed Wood's film life. In a Facebook post, cinematographer Roy H. Wagner said that a film that he photographed in 1974 called Meat Cleaver Massacre, which he described as terrible and had his name taken off of, had to have a replacement director after its original, Keith Burns, had left the set. He said the replacement director was none other than Edward D. Wood Jr.
Oh, wow.
And this was later corroborated by an editor on the film. But is this true? Maybe, but it's all circumstantial. We don't really know if he was part of the film. We could only speculate. Now, I want to talk about the film. Meat Cleaver Massacre is about a professor whose family is killed, and he calls upon an ancient occult demon to get revenge. There is no meat cleaver. There is no meat. There isn't even a massacre with any said meat cleaver. Although, we also have Christopher Lee. Kind of. So the film was originally released as the much longer titled Hollywood Meat Cleaver Massacre in 1976. And then it was re-released in 1977. Re-edited with a bookend with none other than Hammer Horror Dracula himself, Christopher Lee. This was actually made of footage that was intentionally shot for another film, but it wasn't in that film and ended up in this film. So, not for the inappropriately titled Massacre film, but that sounds very Ed Wood-like, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Now, it might be all too good to be true. For all we know, Ed Wood languished in obscurity with a handful of unmade projects, like the unmade Lugosi biopic, or a musical about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, or a film about how Venus de Milo lost her arms. Those are all actual late-stage projects that he had in mind in the 70s.
But we already had a St. Valentine's Day Massacre movie, Matt.
Yes, but was it a musical?
No.
I didn't think so.
Although they did make it into a musical decades later.
Ed Wood spent the last 15 years of his life writing smut, getting meager pay, and then spending it at the liquor store. Ed Wood was a drunk. Sometimes a violent drunk. Although so was his wife, Kathy. But even years after his death, Kathy said that she always loved him. They were often evicted from their homes.
Oh, that's awful.
And when they moved, the first thing that Ed would do would be establish credit at the nearest liquor store.
Oh my God.
By late 1978, they had lived in basic poverty and were evicted from their home in Yucca. They had moved in with their friend Peter Coe into a small North Hollywood apartment. Ed had spent the weekend drinking, and on one afternoon, December the 10th, he went to lie down and felt ill and yelled out that he couldn't breathe. His pleas were ignored for about 20 minutes. But when someone came to check on him, he was gone. He had died from a heart attack.
Oh,
he was
rest in peace.
He was 54 years old.
Oh,
not many papers had tributes for him. He was.
It
so
sounds like the classic story of the tortured artist.
He was so obscure, not even Variety ran anything.
Wow, Variety covers everybody.
He died not getting any attention that he would receive post-mortem. Now, I'd mentioned in another episode, but the thing that helped launch Ed Wood's name from obscurity to Hollywood legend was the Golden Turkey Awards. Now, written by Harry and Michael Medev, they're brothers. They looked at what to them were awful and inept movies. The two had made a name for themselves, writing about the worst films in their previous book, The 50 Worst Films of All Time. They asked readers to submit what they thought was the worst film of all time. With 3,000 ballots received, the winner was surprising. It was Plan 9 from Outer Space. The film likely gained notoriety from playing in on Chiller Theater and similar shows. The Meddevs awarded Wood as worst film director of all time. Interest in Ed Wood skyrocketed in the 80s and 90s as more people would be interested in so bad it's good entertainment, like with the popularity of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Then in 1992, we got the biography on Ed Wood, titled Nightmare of Ecstasy. And this book later made it into the movie, which starts this whole discussion. Now, there's a lot that's left out and changed for entertainment purposes in the film, like I told you about the porn. You can tell that at the end of this pod discussion that it did take a downward slide, and most of the triumphs that Ed had received were posthumous.
Yeah, usually filmmakers start with porn and then they go on to make actual movies. Ed Wood's the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's bittersweet in a way. Burton gives us Wood full of confidence and triumph to win our hearts. We see the underdog in Depp's performance in the film. He runs down the aisle, spotlight shines on him as hundreds cheer for him at this first showing of Plan 9. As ahistorical as it probably was, there's a beauty in it. Burton sees Wood as an exile of society, something that a lot of his characters in his films are. And Burton wants to give Ed Wood this moment. As he sits down in the film at the end and sees his director's credit shines on the screen, he says, This is the one I'll be remembered for. And for all the irony that is behind that quote, it definitely is. It sure was. There we go. That's Ed Wood.
Awesome.
Yay.
What a
I
journey.
will say that the Tim Burton movie is good, and I do recommend that.
And now I want to check out the movie.
Me too.
Is it just called Ed Wood? Or is
it's just called Ed Wood.
Okay. He's like the original Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. I'm just glad Tommy Wiseau got to see his bad movies or bad movie become famous.
Well, he literally had a movie made about him and the movie.
Yeah.
I forget. Anyone else read the Disaster Artist?
I own it.
Have you read it, Matt?
Finished it because I had an accidental spill on it and I needed to flatten it out. So that's why I forgot to finish it. But I remember there was a part that dumbstruck me in the book about how he used two different cameras, a weird setup where he had two different cameras, one film and one digital.
Yeah, because he didn't know the difference.
It shocked me. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because he didn't know what the difference was between the two, so he decided to film the movie in both cameras.
And you were just so surprised, Matt. That's when you.
And it takes two different lighting, and they told him that. That's why the movie looks like shit. No.
I think on that note.
Yeah, ending the recording.
We're ending on that note. So, remember, to be coconut pilled, to be in the context of what has been and what will be, and yeah, that's all I got to say.
I remember 2024 will be forever etched in the tablets of history as the year of sand and monkeys.
Yes.
Trump got shot and Biden dropped out.